Hey everyone, welcome back to Automation. So today is going to be a bit of a different build. Basically, this is something that has been requested for a long time. Since the season 1, I guess, games that I made, where I did a fuel economy challenge, it wasn't particularly good, but it was just an idea I had to set the fuel level in the cars to half, and then just go full out and see how far they went. This time, though, we're taking things up to a bit more of a complicated level. I'm going to be making my own version of the Cybertruck. It's not going to be very fuel efficient, I can tell you that right now, but we're going to be comparing Automation's fuel economy and Beam's fuel economy by using some UI apps in Beam. Oh yeah, you should totally follow me on Twitter, by the way. You can expect quality tweets like this one, and yes, I am serious in that tweet. So like I said, the Cybertruck body is this one up here. What I want to do though, we want to make it relatively futuristic and not at all realistic to the actual Cybertruck. So we're going to go carbon fiber, we'll go for a monocoque chassis, and then again, carbon fiber. I know it doesn't make sense, but it's just too good to pass up. So the lightest suspension option is McPherson strut on the front, you can see here, and then the lightest one on the back is actually going to be push rod, so we'll go with that as well. It doesn't make any sense at all, but we should be able to get a very light Cybertruck out of this. Oh, and I think for this one I'm going to spam the quality a little bit. I haven't done that for a while, so we'll try and make something that is very high quality. Okay, in terms of an engine, let's just go for an inline 4, magnesium inline 4. We're not going for big power, again, we just really want fuel economy. And obviously the engine is very important for that. So let's make it a... Okay, let's go small displacement and we'll go turbo. So it's going to be a 1.3 liter with a dual overhead cam, 4 valves, and we'll mess around with a lot of this other stuff to see what is better in economy. Again, power is not the goal here. Okay, I'm just going to go for the best insides possible. Basically, it's just this, and we'll keep it like that. Again, quality up, turbocharger, ball bearing, and fuel economy preset. Oh yeah, we're going to need that. Goodness, fuel efficiency right now is 30%. That's pretty good. We'll be able to see what that looks like in liters per 100 kilometers soon, but for now 30% fuel efficiency is good. Oh goodness, the Cybertruck is way bigger than I thought. I'm just skipping ahead right now because I want to get to that efficiency. I want to show you what I mean by that. So front wheel drive does make the most sense if we want to be efficient, but I'm gonna try all wheel drive for now. And this is tough. Advanced auto, we'll go 9 speeds. We're gonna need that many speeds. Open diffs as well. And I'll just skip through the rest of this and show you what I'm talking about. There we go, 7.2 liters per 100 kilometers. At least I'm pretty sure that's what this stat is here under fuel economy. So our goal for this is to make that lower, as low as we can get it. And here we have a fuel economy stats. We can check that out. So gear 9 is actually doing some work for us, and it's good that we have 9 gears. We're going to need that for sure. So I'm very interested to see how this actually stacks up to real life. Let's go ahead and try and get the best efficiency we can out of our engine, and we'll come back here and take a look at this. Alright, so I didn't really show it yet, but this engine makes 122 horsepower. Doesn't really need much to get there. That's just how it started out as. So I'm going to go ahead and raise up the RPM limit. Now this thing can take a lot. It is positive 15 quality on everything, and that's how it's going to be for all of this. Also, we'll go positive 15 quality on the exhaust too, can't forget about that. Efficiency is currently up to 31%, I'd love to get that even higher. Can we do it by lowering the fuel mixture? Oh yes we can. So our fuel efficiency is currently 31%, we're using 85 octane, so we could actually go low quality fuel if we really wanted to. And I mean that doesn't really do much, but we'll just go regular. That's a bit more realistic perhaps. Okay, so I'm just checking every part basically to see what is more efficient. Interestingly enough, the standard intake is 1% less efficient than a race intake. So we'll just go with that. Okay, so if we advance the timing, we are getting better economy as well. I guess up to a point. It is slowly going up in percentage though, goodness. So on the turbo I haven't actually done anything yet, I've just been messing with that other stuff. However, we are going to need to mess with compression, cam profile, VVL profile, and turbo. But let's go ahead and put VVT on it. Ooh, that's even better efficiency wise. And then we need to get this VVL probably up high and then compression down low. As I do this, I'm not really looking at all at the actual power that we're making. I'm very much focusing on that efficiency meter because power in this case doesn't really matter. As long as the thing moves, we're good. So far it seems like 38 is about as good as I can do on the efficiency scale. Having VVL up this high isn't actually helping. Putting it down to 60-ish and then having compression a bit higher seems to be doing the trick. Or at least it was before I turned down the cam profile. There we go, that's 38% efficiency right there. 143 horsepower. Not bad overall. Let's see if we can do anything with the intercooler and such. It doesn't seem like changing it's really doing anything though. Out of curiosity, I've just switched back to naturally aspirated. We only make 20 less horsepower, but our fuel efficiency does go down. So I'm going to keep the turbos and I'll keep the fuel economy preset as well. And somehow that, oh there we go. I thought I messed it up for good there. Okay, I'm pretty pleased with that. That's 38% efficiency. I think that's going to work out just fine for what this is. 143 horsepower is enough to get us up to a good speed. We don't really need to go faster than 100 kilometers an hour for the test that I'm doing. And we also should consider that this vehicle is huge, so it is probably going to weigh quite a bit, and that is going to affect the fuel economy rating by a significant amount. Like, look at how big this thing is. Okay, one thing I will do is I'll color it. I think in traditional Cybertruck style, we'll just go for a nice steel look, and we'll just put a medium shine on that thing. Should be good enough. The only thing I'm going to do in terms of fixtures with this is I'm just going to give it triangle wheels. That's literally it. Let's move on to the drivetrain. So it's currently not quite geared correctly. We'll have to get to that in a bit. We're still at good utility, although that doesn't really matter. Fuel economy is right here though, 4.7 liters per 100 kilometers. Let's try and get this even lower. So our top speed is estimated to be 195, so we'll raise that up. That hasn't done much. Still 9-speed advanced auto. I really like the advanced auto, and I'm thinking that it's a good option for us, but let's just try out some of the other ones, and we'll also try out front wheel drive. Oh, okay, so front wheel drive is actually better in economy, so we're going to go front wheel drive, and it makes us quite a bit lighter as well. Only 990 kilos on this, goodness. Okay, testing out the different drivetrain options here for gearboxes. I'm just kind of flipping through the gears. Seems like the sweet spot is actually 4.4 liters, but I do want to go with the 9-speed just because we want more ratios. However, I think what we need to do first is change the spacing, because there's a heck of a lot of wheel spin in first gear for some reason. Oh yeah, there we go. So if we lower down the first gear a little bit, then we can get just a little bit better fuel economy, basically the same as though we were in 6 speeds instead of 9. So in an effort to fight the wheel spin, I went from open to electric, and it seems to be fine. The weight wasn't affected either, so we'll just put that on there just to keep this thing going, and of course we're going to raise up the quality of this. I might have forgotten to do that a few times already. Alright, here's something that is incredibly important. We need to adjust the wheels. Now, what I'm going to be trying to do is get fuel economy of this value between our highway and our city stats. So it's going to be kind of fun to do that, but obviously we need to get as good as we can get first. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm not going for absolute maximum of efficiency. It's just not going to happen. So we're basically just making a vehicle that sacrifices pretty much everything for efficiency. That's the idea. So that immediately being said, lowering down the size of the front wheels actually does, well, for one, it breaks it. But as long as we have very tiny wheels, we'll have a lot less contact with the road surface, which means we can get even better economy. And sports compound is less sticky on the road, so again, better. Medium compound, once again, better. Hard long life, even better. And then chunky off-road isn't great, so we're going to go hard long life on this thing with very, very tiny wheels. If I could give it negative offset, I would, because that would definitely help it. We do want to make this thing so that it'll drive, but in its current state, we're not quite there yet. We'll have to tune the suspension to try and fix that. Okay, I think I might have broke the game or something here, because this is currently within the graph where it should be, but 3.6 is where we're at. Look at that size of the wheels. Like, what the heck? This thing is basically a train, but it's got good efficiency, so I don't really care. Okay, I decreased the rim size from 20s down to 17s, which seems to be a good thing as well. And I'm just going to increase this just a little bit, just because it looks so ridiculous. It's not that big of a deal. Oh, it looks so bad, though. So I have no idea why, but the smaller the wheels, seemingly the better on this Cybertruck. Also, it allows us to make them even thinner, which unfortunately, despite being very nice wagon wheels, means that it weighs too much, or its wheel spin is kind of ridiculous, but that gives us some really solid fuel economy. In this point, I'm going to have to strike a balance. We do need to have some width on the wheels so that we can drive, but other than that, I would have shrunk them as much as possible. Maybe one day we will do a just complete all-out fuel economy build. Already though, this is better than I thought it would be. 3.5, like, that's pretty low. Okay, by popular demand, I put the wheels back up to their, I don't know, just like a small car size, basically. It's still good on fuel economy. It wasn't really that much of a difference with it before. So I've currently got these things at carbon ceramic, mostly because they are the lightest of the brakes. And I'm doing one piston again because they are the lightest of the brakes. So it's currently down to 860, which is very low in weight. But what I want to do is just be very careful about this. We need to get the brakes up to a good spot, but we don't want to make it too heavy. My technique for this is just making the brake pad type all the way up. Actually, it doesn't need to be all the way up from the looks of things. And our back brakes are going to be really strong as well, which is good. So we can just lower that down and still keep our 3.5 liters per 100 kilometers fuel economy. Now, we don't want downforce because that's going to worsen our fuel economy. Actually, so far it's improving just from clicking this, but basically all that does is add weight because this thing doesn't have any wings. So we'll just leave it like this. I guess we can raise the quality of this, or is that going to lower it? Oh, there we go. Even better fuel economy there. 3.3. And on interior, we're just going to take out all this stuff. We don't really need back seats, do we? And we'll take out those as well. We'll just go basic interior, and we'll make it higher quality because that is less weight in this game. So that being said, we can once again lower the size of these components because, well, we don't need that much. This should be good. Oh yeah, I've preset all of these. Basically, we're just going to lower the weight again and lower the weight again, so we'll get even better fuel economy. Suspension is a bit of a weird one, mostly because I don't know what to do and I have no idea what to do either. This thing is front wheel drive. It's not that heavy, but it is still kind of heavy for its horsepower. We could probably get away with just standard springs, and again, that increases our economy because they're probably lighter. Twin tube is fine, and passive is fine. We'll just go for a race preset. Seems to be good. Oh, this thing is low now. And after increasing the quality of the suspension pieces, we are up to 2.8 liters per 100 kilometers with this thing. Yeah, it's a bit of a fuel economy rocket here, although 2.8 isn't even that good. Like, if it was a hybrid, that would be pretty average. 2.8 liters per 100 kilometers, though. I think we can do better than that if we really tried. I think this is going to be a good enough base to move on to the beam portion of this video, so stick around. I'm going to do a couple of different challenges with this thing, and we'll try to match that fuel economy as best we can. Hey everyone, so things are looking a little bit different now that we are in Beam. That's because I'm having an issue with this thing, and I have no idea why. So let me go through what's been going on, and then we'll sort of improvise a bit of a test for this, just because I want to continue with the testing. It doesn't have to be this vehicle, it was just kind of to make it a build and not just a testing video. But anyway, we'll test with something else, but first I want to show you what's going on. So let's just reset this thing, start it back up, and I'm just taking off like normal, not going too heavy on the throttle. Instantly you'll notice the engine is starved of oil, and then it'll soon die. That's been happening regardless of how I have the engine tuned, unfortunately. So this is the third version of this thing that I've made, and this is my futile attempt to try and fix this issue. I don't know, it might just be a bug with the exporter, but the engine isn't even that wild. It's just reasonably efficient, and apparently that just means no oil. I don't know why. It could be this body, it could be a lot of things, but it's just not working for us today, so we'll have to go with something else. That it kept in mind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly check one of my other cars in automation. We can take a look at that, and you can see what kind of fuel economy it has, and then we'll go ahead and do the same kind of testing that I was going to do with this to that, except we'll be expecting much different results. So that's the plan. Alright, back again. So this time we're going to be looking at the not a Jeep that I made, although it really does look like a Jeep quite a bit, and then I even made an overland version of it later on. But let's get into the details of what I'm planning on doing here. This was intended to be for that Cybertruck thing, but again, we'll go with this. So this Jeep is currently rated to do 20.6 liters per 100 kilometers, which is absolutely horrible fuel economy, so basically no different from Jeep in real life. However, I don't know if that is highway or city, so what we're going to first try to do here, we're going to use the giant outer loop that I used before on one of my last fuel economy tests. We're going to be using, though, this time a constant fuel economy tester, which you can see down in the corner there, as well as you can see the pedals, so you can see where the throttle is. I'm moving that now, and then over there as well is cruise control, so I can set a constant speed. So we're going to log how much this thing will do in terms of highway speed, and then we'll try the same sort of thing around a city. Quotations there, I'm just going to drive around the grid map. And then we'll kind of get an idea for what kind of fuel economy this thing has, and I think that'll be kind of interesting. See if the automation rating actually matches Beam or not. So let's go ahead and we'll try and run this Jeep. Just to be as good as we can, let's take off the front drive shaft, we'll make it two-wheel drive, and then we'll try and optimize this as best we can. Okay, so starting off, now, I want to point out some things as well, and we're going to do a couple laps just because I want to talk about this. Some people had some misconceptions in my previous fuel economy challenge video that I did, but let's just get up to speed and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you can see into third gear here we hit 100 kilometers an hour. Now unfortunately I need to get up with a mouse to click that, and now we are at a constant speed of soon to be 100, okay, 100. I didn't really consider whether or not this thing could actually make it around this. But you can see now we're in third gear. I don't remember how many gears this has, but we're about to find out. Cruising at 100 on the highway, in quotes, it's basically a highway, just with some very significantly banked corners. I'm in third gear and my fuel economy is going somewhere between 22 and 24 liters per 100 kilometers, but notice we are up past 4,000, almost to 5,000 RPM. Now if I shift up one more gear here, our fuel economy should theoretically improve, and that is because our RPMs are lower. Now if we wait for this bank corner to be over, we'll probably have a little bit more of an accurate estimation. Maybe I could have tried this on the endless space as well, that might have been interesting. But either way, once our throttle goes down and I don't really need to push this thing anymore, we're down to 20 and 19-ish liters per 100 kilometers, now even getting lower. So we can cruise at below that 21 rating in fourth gear. But once again, if we go up to fifth gear, and this thing only has 5 gears, we're under 3,000 RPM and our fuel economy has improved once again down to around 15 liters per 100 kilometers there. So I'm just going to go around a little bit more and sort of get a mental average of what this thing will do in fifth gear around this area, and then we'll go ahead and try it at some other speeds as well and see. It hasn't been very long, but I am noticing a pattern. One thing is for sure, this thing is incredibly quiet because it does have mufflers, so I can barely hear it at all. If you're wondering if the sound is on or not, the sound is on, it's just not very loud. But we are getting like a good average. When we're not trying to climb banked corners, we can hit 16 liters per 100 kilometers, and I think that that's probably pretty reasonable. As you'll see, it does go below 16, it does go higher than 16. If we were just on flat level ground, which I guess we can try right after this, this thing will just cruise at a nice 15 and a bit, just going under that at times and around there at times as well. I think 16 is probably a good average. Now, out of curiosity, what I want to do here is increase the speed. So I'm just going to tick this up a little bit. I'm going to raise our cruise control up to 120 kilometers an hour, which don't tell the police, but this is usually what I cruise at on the highway. I drive that to go to work every day. You can see our fuel economy has worsened a pretty significant amount as we try to get up to that speed, but I'm interested to see what sort of percentage that does. Like, I know in real life 100 is more efficient than 120, but does that translate? Oh, it seems so. We're up to, I guess, around 17, 18 liters per 100 kilometers, so that's like an extra 2 liters per 100 kilometers just to do 20% more speed. I guess that kind of works out accordingly there. And just for the fun of it, let's ramp off the end of this thing here, and then we'll try this again, but on flat ground. And we'll go ahead for that 100 kilometers again. And here we go, into the endless void. Okay, apparently we're not going to live through that. Although it is still trying to maintain 100. Kind of unsuccessfully. So we're going to try a couple things here because this is pretty much endless. All we really need to do is get up to some good speed, set that cruise again at 100 exactly, and then we'll be able to see up into 5th gear whether or not this actually does anything. Now, before we're averaging pretty low, here you can see we're averaging even lower, around 15 liters per 100 kilometers. Now, I'm not sure if automation takes into consideration the fact that you can switch it out of four-wheel drive into two-wheel drive. So what I'm going to do, to be fair, is I'm going to switch it into four-wheel drive, and our fuel economy has remained the same. I guess drivetrain losses are not necessarily considered in Beam, although you think they would be. That's kind of interesting to see. And now accelerating, we're getting pretty poor fuel economy right now. We're coming up to the end of the endless void, but it's currently up to 120 kilometers an hour, and again it averages around 17, so it's like 15 to 17 or 16 to 18-ish, and that's the difference between the loop and this, so kind of cool to see as well. Seems like our throttle needs to be about 10 points higher as well to maintain this speed, so kind of cool to see. I think it might be time though that we attempted a city run instead. As you've seen, that 21 or 20.6 as it is in automation is likely a combined value. Okay, so we're in four-wheel drive, and just out of curiosity once again, I don't know, I'm just finding this kind of sciencing stuff fun. As I say that now, it's real cringy, but let's accelerate all the way up. You can see we're averaging over 100 liters per 100 kilometers, so you're not going to make it too far with the pedal all the way down like this. I think though, if we just keep this up, we're going to get a very terrible average. Yeah, full throttle all the way down, and we're averaging 55-ish liters per 100 kilometers. And I'm sure that's going to go down a little bit here. Yeah, down to 30 or so. Alright, so this one is a little bit different because it's harder to just look at the fuel economy thing and just know roughly how good it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 45 liters in the tank, and we'll just apply that as well. So we have a nice even number to start off with. I'm going to quickly turn off the engine so we can try to be efficient here, at least as much as we can. But all we really need to do is watch the fuel level and then watch the distance we go, and then we'll come up with a good fuel economy rating. But the live fuel economy is still useful because it'll show me like when to accelerate and how hard to accelerate and how much that's actually taking. Like a lot of modern cars, like if you've ever driven a hybrid car, will tell you this kind of stuff. I know the modern RAV4 will even give you a score on how well you did at the end of your trip. Stuff like the Jeep, not so much, I don't think, mostly because that's a much more secondary priority to just being off-road capable. But in this case, let's give the Jeep a try, or the not a Jeep. We'll just drive around the Beam map a little bit and go over some moguls and stuff. Try not to break it too much, and we'll see what kind of fuel economy I can get, again in two-wheel drive. So the engine is on. Now keep in mind this thing is a manual, so I do need to be somewhat careful. Mostly because being in a higher gear is generally a good thing. I'm very used to driving performance vehicles in this game, so I do shift like much higher than you would actually want to if you were going to be driving on the streets. Now, fuel economy wise, obviously that's not exactly smart. We're not going to be getting up to 100 too much other than what I just did there. This is going to be a lot more just kind of driving around, trying not to do donuts as I just kind of did there. I was thinking of driving between the bus routes, and then I was like, wait a minute, I don't know where they are. So yeah, right now it's just going to be like this. Just drive around a bit and see how this thing does. Well, so far not much is happening. I'm going 70-ish kilometers an hour. I'm going to try not to go over 80 too much here, just because you don't usually go over that in the city. And we're currently averaging a pretty good economy. I'm just kind of feathering the throttle, trying to be consistent with it, but then I end up going too fast. It's a lot harder on the controller, which is what I'm using for this. I could have used the steering wheel, but for this challenge, the controller is fine. Okay, apparently I might have just screwed everything up by doing that, but weight reduction might help us out a little bit. Okay, if you really like go at it in 5th gear, you do not gain much speed with this. I guess it's just not got enough torque for it. Well, let's go for our first stop here at the bus stop, going down into 1st gear. Stop at the bus stop completely, and continue on. Oh, a bit of a wheel spin there. That might offset our distance incorrectly, so I don't want to do that if I can help it. So a bit of an accelerative area there, making up new words, and then down into 1st gear and a stop at the bus stop. We'll just continue on for a little bit more, and then we'll try to get a little conversion out of that. It's pretty easy to get your economy if you're using metric. Oh, there's another bus stop right here. We probably should stop for it. And just go down into 1st gear again. And forward ho. Oh goodness, another bus stop. Okay, a couple more and then we'll end this thing off. We've actually only used a very small amount of fuel, so kind of be interesting to see how that works. All right, so it's a pretty easy calculation, and I can tell you right now, I just ran through it, and it's not pretty. We did a total of, we had 45 liters in the tank. So you take away what we currently have left in the tank, which is 43.64, that gives us 1.3 liters of fuel used. Divide that by 3.6 kilometers, we'll assume it's even though we can't see the decimal place. Times that by 100, and we got 37.7 liters per 100 kilometers. That's not great. But if we add that to our previous fuel economy, our previous best was around 15, so we'll go with that. That makes 52, but if you divide that by 2, that makes 26.388, and then repeating. So that's not too bad. It's not quite as good as it claims to be on automation. It's pretty interesting that we can come up with these numbers in Beam, though. It's cool to be able to sort of relate these cars that we make to real life in pretty much any way that we can. Obviously, it's still automation. It's still just BeamNG.drive. It's not going to be real life. We're not there yet, but yeah, we're getting close. It's pretty fun to play this, and it's pretty fun to do these kind of technical challenges, so let me know what you thought. Obviously, it's not perfect, and there are ways I can improve it, especially with this city economy. I think 37.6 or whatever it was, that's real bad. But this beep in general isn't good for that, so yeah, maybe we'll try it out with something a little bit more fuel efficient another time, but that's going to be it for this video. I just want to take a second to thank those loyal lads and lasses, the advanced supporters and supporters respectively, for supporting me through this time, and also some of them for the past 5 months. Anyways, we've got Canadian Steel, Slow Fried Chicken 69, Overlord, Dr. Ivo, That Riced Out Explorer, QT Bear, The Most Random Person, Crypt Panzer, and Justin. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate all of you, and I would encourage you, if you want to join this list, be sure to hit that join button. I appreciate every one of you. Oh yeah, we got some more Beam stuff coming later this week, and if I can't get that right, then we'll be doing more My Summer Car. I have to take a break from My Summer Car every 2 weeks, otherwise I'm going to lose my patience. That game is just like, whew. But anyway, we'll see you then.